All right. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Sisters Daily. I'm so glad that you are back to join us. So, right off the cuff, today we are going to be talking about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Today's episode is simply going to be an introduction to a series that I'm about to launch on cognitive behavioral therapy the Bible way. So, we're going to be looking at CBT techniques, but in a Bible way. Now, if you are interested, please feel free to stay tuned. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And if anything sparks your interest, please get in contact with me. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. All right, cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, if you've been watching any of my videos, you know that I am really interested in CBT, mainly because it's about the thought process. So what is cognitive behavioral therapy? Cognitive behavioral therapy is a mental health tool or a technique that is used in the mental health world to support and encourage better mental health. Now, when we say mental health, we're not talking about people who are mentally unwell. We all have a stage of mental health. We all have mental health the same way I have health in general, and my health can fluctuate from day to day. Catch me in a cold, I might not feel very well, something might hurt. My body goes through fluctuations of its own physical health. We also go through fluctuations of our mental health. We watch something sad, we don't feel very happy. We get some bad news, it fluctuates. We get some good news, it fluctuates. Somebody buys you some chocolate. I like chocolate, by the way. Just putting it out there. Somebody buys you some chocolate. It fluctuates. Somebody tells you a good joke. It fluctuates. Somebody tells you a bad joke. It fluctuates. So we all have mental health. That's the first thing I want to say. We all have mental health. Now, the point about CBT is that it encourages, the awareness of being aware of your thoughts. So the general rule of CBT, I'm looking at my notes. The general rule of CBT is that there is a CBT triangle. And what it suggests is that there is a direct correlation, there is a direct connection between what you think, what you feel, and then what you go on to do. So that's the triangle. What you think, what you feel, and then what you go on to do. So a behavior is a repetition of patterns. It's a repetition of actions. That is a behavior. So if somebody does something bad frequently, you would say they were badly behaved. Cognitive talks about thinking, talks about the way that you process thoughts. So cognitive behavioral therapy is about being aware of your thoughts and almost manipulating them to better outcomes. It's also about captivating the ones that you know don't always lead to better outcomes. Remember the triangle. It suggests that what you think interacts with how you feel. That interacts with what you then go on to do, your pattern of behaviors. So cognitive behavioral therapy looks to make you aware of that triangle and tries to break the connections or manipulate the connections into better outcomes. So again, the general aim of CBT is about challenging and changing unhelpful patterns of behavior, unhelpful processing thoughts. It also looks at improving emotional regulation. Sometimes we get into situations or we catch our thoughts in places that we wouldn't really want it to be. Weirdly enough, our mind runs away. We allow it sometimes because we don't know where it's gone. It's just wandered off, and all of a sudden we don't feel too good, and we can't even really put a finger on why we don't feel too good. We just know we don't feel too right. And again, maybe if we trace it back to a thought, did we have a thought? Did somebody say something that impacted the way that we thought or thought about a situation or thought about ourselves? Did that then go on to impact our mood? And has that now directly correlated with the way that we are now behaving? Think about it. And I think it's really important as believers that we take thought of our thoughts, literally. And CBT also looks to develop coping skills and strategies to solve problems. Now, this is going to be Bible-based and it's going to be Christian-based because that's what I want us to do. In the Christian world, I think sometimes it's still a bit of a taboo to talk about mental health. We don't believe that we can suffer from ill mental health or challenging mental health. Personally, it's a lie. We all can. As long as you are thinking, scientists still can't prove how many thoughts we have a day, but believe me, there are thousands of thoughts that go through, well, my head for sure, thousands of thoughts that we go through every single day. But I want to bring and suggest a Christian method of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, the Bible way. Now, within the cognitive behavioral world, they would suggest, or mental health world, they would suggest that CBT is good for supporting things like anxiety. Honestly, fireworks. Guy Fawkes has finished. Anyway, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, phobias, things like that. Things that are directly triggered by the thoughts that we have. Phobias, a lot of phobias start off as a thought. Fears start off as a thought. Something went on in our mind, real or otherwise, and it has told the rest of our body how to respond. Basically, your thoughts have in fact impacted how you feel, and that has then gone on to behaviors, repeated patterns. Really? Y'all gotta be kidding me. We'll be back. Very sorry about that. Some very delayed Guy Fawkes popping off out there. Anywho, so CBT, there are particular areas that are used, well-known tools that are used. There's loads of them, and probably they get tailored based on the person that is sitting in front of the therapist or talking therapist at that time. I'm going to be running through 8 of these, so I'm going to be doing them every single week. I'm going to be looking at a different one. So for the next 8 weeks, I want you to join in with me. I want you to take this journey with me. I want you to really just understand how these tools can be used to support your own mental health. And I think as believers, we really do need to become aware of our mental health, aware of our gateways into our mind and into our heart. So before I leave, I'm going to leave us with some scriptures that just support this very theory of our thoughts and our feelings having a direct impact on what we then go on to do. The first one is a very well-known scripture. It's taken from Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. And it basically says, as a man thinks, so is he. As a man thinks, a different version says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So we have the thoughts, we have the feelings, and then we have the actions, so is he. If that isn't a CBT triangle, I don't know what is. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You have that triangle. You have the connection between what you think, what you feel, and what you then go on to do. The other scripture I want to leave with us is taken from 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4 and 5. Now, we know this one quite well as well within the Christian world. We know this one quite well. It talks about the weapons of our warfare not being carnal. The weapons of our warfare. So this war that we are in, this battle, this fight that we are in, it's not carnal. Not carnal meaning it's not tangible. It's not flesh and blood. It's not skin. It's not a person. It's not something I can grip onto with my own hands. It's not that. There's something deeper. The warfare is not you and me that I can see you. It's not that. That is not the battle. So it says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And then it goes on to say this, bringing every thought into captivity onto the obedience of Christ. I'm going to read that end part again. Bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So it starts off by saying that the weapons of this war is not a carnal war. It's not a fleshy war. It's not a grippable, hand grippable war. It's not that war. But then it goes on to talk about bringing every thought into captivity to the knowledge of Christ. Our thoughts. It tells us where that war is, and it's in our thoughts. So I want you to really log in, tune in, click that button, that notification bell. That's the one. The notification bell, because it will let you know when I upload these. They'll be coming every weekend. For the next 8 weeks, I'm going to be going through different CBT techniques and tools. So we are going to get this under control. My sisters, my brothers, anybody watching this, the warfare is in the mind. If you can get the mind under control and you can get some governance of your feelings, you can then have a direct correlation and impact on what you go on to do. And that is the important part. You can think everything you want, you can feel everything you feel, but what's really important is what you then go on to do. Another scripture tells us that without faith, it's impossible to even please God. And faith is a direct reflection of what you know. How you go on to behave directly reflects what you really feel, what you know in your head. If you know God to be something, if you feel God to be something, you have wisdom and understanding and knowledge of who God is, what God has done, what God can do for you. That then goes on to impact what you choose, how you choose to reflect and manifest your feelings. That is the basis of faith. It's a direct correlation between what you have understood, what you feel, what you know. That goes on to govern how you behave. So I want you to join in for the next 8 weeks. This has just been a snippet of what I'm going to be covering over the next 8 weeks. Different CBT tools and techniques that they use in mental health and therapies. I'm going to be bringing them to you for the next 8 weeks from a Bible perspective. God created everything. Trust me, God has given man wisdom and knowledge. And why can't we use it? Trust me, I will find Bible correlation. You will see that these are biblical techniques. Proverbs is a very clear example and a very clear indication that there is a direct correlation between what we think, what we feel, and then what we go on to do. So this has been Sisters Daily. Sorry for the fireworks. This has been Sisters Daily, and I hope you come back and join us next time. So take care. Until then. To do. The other scripture I want to leave with us is taken that are used, particular technique. Understand how these